But we know our hope is in Jesus Christ, right? And our culture somehow is making us more depressed. Maybe it's Facebook, maybe it's social media, maybe it's what we're seeing on TV. I don't know, but the truth is something is happening to our emotional stability. And today I offer you this one premise, that my hope is that if you realize, if you're okay with the fact that God will break you in order to use you for his glory. And being broken isn't a bad thing. It feels bad for a time. But in the end, it results in his glory. Here we go. John chapter 4, verse 5 through 9. And Dr. Hill, you're going to have to totally flag me down. It says, so he, Jesus, came out of the city of Samaria, right? And understand that this community, Samaria, I can't even point to it, was a community that was, in a sense, considered they were outcasts. So after the Assyrians took over the northern kingdom, the group of people that kind of stayed in the area were intermingled with people who weren't from Israel. And so they were always considered not one of the us. They were the they, not the us, right? And so now Jesus is going, and why would he stop in Samaria? All of a sudden, Jesus, you're coming to the Jews. But if you go through the New Testament, big things happen in Samaria often. Right? We need to do more studying on that city. So nevertheless, they go to this place called Sychar, right? Near the plot of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Now, this land is probably one of the most sacred, holy sites in all the Bible. Jacob's well's there. Abraham was there. I can go on with event after event that happened here, most of them negative. But ultimately, the good thing that happened here was God's promise came here. Promised Abraham this blessing would happen in this area. It goes on to say, Jesus, therefore, being weary from his journey, sat thus by the well. It was about the 6th hour, and you've heard this sermon 1,000 times. The 6th hour means is what? Noon, 12 o'clock. At this time, now I've been to Israel once, right? And I was there, and it was hot, right? And at 12 o'clock, it's hot. It's hot. And so you don't just go outside at 6 o'clock, at 12. Moreover, what's going to happen, you're going to see a woman outside by herself at 12 o'clock. Now, they don't have like police officers. They don't have even paved roads. Like, this woman is at risk. That's if I'm a reader during this day and time, I'm like, whoa, she's out, she's wild. She's either brave or risky. Like, man, she's out there. This woman is bad. Remember I said I liked her, right? So I'm going to hype her up. It says, now look at this. A woman of Samaria came to draw water. Jesus said to her, give me something to drink. Now, Jesus, he's not trying to no, he ain't doing that. Jesus is just trying to say, he'll give me something to drink, right? You got that, right? Now, 8, it says, for his disciples had gone away into the city to buy food. So now his disciples are gone getting McDonald's, and she's with Jesus, and he's like, give me some Gatorade. And she's like, what? She makes this face. I know. She goes, you think I'm playing? Watch. It says, 9, then the woman of Samaria, look at her name, the woman of Samaria. That's a title. Watch. The woman of Samaria said to him, how is it that you, being a Jew, ask a drink from me, a Samaritan woman? Now, we know John adds this in here. He says, for the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. Now, this woman, she's going to start rapping. She's going to start throwing theological rhetoric at Jesus that he hasn't seen outside, talking to the Pharisees and Sadducees. And you think I'm playing? Watch what she says. 10, it says, Jesus answered her and said, if you knew the gift of God and who it is that says to you, give me drink, you would have asked him and he would have given you living water. You're like, Jesus, right? But what he's saying is this water right here is a well. It was stagnant water. And you drink that water, you're probably going to get sick unless you got these stuff going on with your stomach that can fight those bacteria and stuff. But what Jesus is saying is he's like this living water. And during that day and time, a living water was a water that was near a spring. And so the difference is rainwater is water, but it's stagnant. Spring water is living, life-giving water. Now, she's hearing all this. Remember, I said she's bad. Now, a lot of you have heard that this woman was a prostitute. Okay. The woman said to him, "Sir, you have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. Where then would you get this living water?" You don't see the irony in there? I see it. I see sarcasm. You said, "Oh, that's too much, Pastor. You're reading too much." Okay. Listen to what she says. "Are you greater than our father Jacob?" Now, how does she go into a theological conversation? This is just a woman. And I really mean that. During that day, women now they didn't know much about, they weren't able to read, but she's like, okay. You think you know you're talking to me? "Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us this well and drank from it, as well as his sons and his livestock?" Like, she has just gone back to history, and she is rapping to Jesus. Like, she's having a one-on-one theological conversation with God. All right. And Jesus' answer said to her, "Whoever drinks this water will thirst again. But whoever drinks the water that I shall give him will never thirst, but the water that I shall give him will become in him a fountain of water, springing up into everlasting life." Amen. What do you think she said? The woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water that I may not thirst, nor come here to draw." Oh, God, what are you talking about? 17. Oh, sorry. Here we go, 16. This is the main point. I missed that part. Here we go. 16 starts to change. Jesus said to her, "Go call your" what? Husband. He didn't say lover. He said, "Go call your husband and come here." Now the woman's like, the woman answered and said, "I have no husband." Jesus said to her, "You said well, I have no husband." For you have had 5 what? Husbands. 5 what? Husbands. This is important. 5 what? Husbands. Not 5 lovers. 5 husbands. 5 husbands. 5 husbands. She's had 5 marriages. Now, let me get deep. This is why the scripture has changed my soul. You think I'm playing? These Samaritans, they're under the law. Now, who in the law had the right to divorce? The husband. There you go. We balling now. She had been divorced 5 times. She got divorced. They left her. Now, you want to get deep? Why were they leaving her? Now, she had to be fine like my wife because she kept getting married. Preach, Pastor. You hit the home run. She had to be attractive. She kept getting married 5 times. But she went to the well by herself. Why would she go by herself? Because she couldn't have any kids. She couldn't produce children. She's rejected. Oh, thank you, Lord. She comes from a rejected community, a rejected people. She's been rejected by her husbands. Not once, not twice. I would have stopped after number 2, but maybe she got some hope, like, man, maybe it's them, maybe it ain't me, so I'm going to keep on trying. And after 3, it's like, oh, the next one, it's going to work. I'll go through this marriage ceremony once more time. I'll put on the dress once again, because I got to have my baby. Come on now. 4. And then the divorce came. Remember, all of them are giving her a certificate of divorce. Number 5 comes. And she's like, I'm through. I ain't going to do it again. She's given up hope. And Jesus knows this because he says, what? The one you're now with is what? Number 6. She's like, I can't do it anymore. See, we've made this woman into something she wasn't because she was from Samaria. All right? Jesus said to her, you have said, well, I have no husband for you. You have had 5 husbands, and the one whom you now have is not your husband. In that you've spoken truly. I like this. The woman said to him, sir, I perceive that you're a prophet. You saw all that. Like you a man of God. I'm convinced. Now listen to her. This is why this woman is bad. Look at this point, I'd have been broken, done, caked, booked. I'd have been fried, died. I'm through. He done called me out. I'm taking my water. I'm going home, you know. Like, look, she's even at a well that's not near her community. She is like miles away from her community. Like she is ostracized. And you got cut up, I'd have been going home. Listen to what she says. Our fathers worshipped on this mountain. And you Jews say that in Jerusalem is a place for one ought to worship. And Jesus said to her, woman, believe me, the hour is coming when you will neither worship on this mountain nor in Jerusalem with worship the Father. She goes on to say, you worship what you don't know. We know what we worship, for salvations of the Jews. Now, I'd have been done there too, because he wasn't politically correct. You need to say something like, well, we all will one day. He was like, you don't even know what you're doing because you're a Samaritan. That's what he just said. Like, Jesus ain't playing. She can take it. You think, all right, here we go. But the hour is coming, and now is when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and the truth, for the Father is seeking such to worship him. Come on, let's give God glory because of that. It says, God is spirit, and those that worship must worship him in spirit and in truth. Now here, listen to this woman. This is her response. I'm telling you, she's bad. She says, 25, the woman said to him, now I know that the Messiah is coming, he who is called Christ. Like, she is on point. My brain would not even been there, right? I'm like, what about my miracle? You think I'm playing? Heal my body now so I can have some children. You think I'm off? Who wouldn't have said that at that moment? You're a prophet? Heal me. I didn't do anything wrong. Heal me. The woman said, I know the Messiah is coming, and when he comes, he will tell us all things. Jesus said to her, I, who speak to you, am he. Now, what she does next is the sermon. It says the woman then left her water pot. Didn't she come to get water? Don't you think she's thirsty? She left the Gatorade. She left the electrolytes. She left the Pedialyte. Like, she left it there. It's hot. She stopped all that mattered in her life at that moment. And you know what she's going to go do? See, what did Jesus tell her to do earlier? Somebody said it. Go get your husband. Jesus gave her a command. He never changed what he said. She was thinking about that the whole time, because what she does is she left the water pot, went her way into the city, and said to the who? I ain't going to the men. All those men who left me, who rejected me. I'm not going to the men. That's the last thing. I'm going to the men. And she runs to, and you know, in that group of men, let's just do statistics, has to be one of the 5, and maybe even number 6. Like, she's going to them. She obeyed him. Despite, like, I would have been at that moment, look, I've been faithful, and I gave up. Like, it wasn't my fault. I ain't going to go get that man. Oh, y'all. I'm not going to go get that man. I ain't going. But she responded faithfully. She's in the storm right now. If anybody's justified for having to give her peace of mind to Jesus, this is the one. But instead of fighting for what she knows to be right and just and fair, she runs and goes find these men. What'd she say to them? Come and see a man who told me all things that I ever did. Could this be the Christ? I'm not going to go back to the people who hurt me and talk about my hurts. Now, you're the last person I'm going to talk to. I know we got counseling. It's like, no, that ain't counseling right there. That is not right. You got to be whole first. 30. Then they went out of the city and came to him. And many of the Samaritans of the city believed in him because of the word that the woman who testified, what did she say? He told me all that I ever did. Because they knew her. She was notorious. She was the fine woman that couldn't have babies. And we were like, man, mom coming up next. I'm going to be number 8. She's fine. But yet, she was broken. And instead of doing it her way, she yielded to God's spirit, to his will, and did it his. There should be these little glow sticks on your seat. Somewhere on your seat, right? So I'm going to ask you, just take one and just break it one time. You see, you had that glow stick there, but it wasn't interesting till you broke it. Because when it was unbroken, it looked like everything, it was just like a stick. But now it has value. Now it can do something unique, not for the stick itself, but for those around the stick. It says, and many of the Samaritans of the city believed in him because of the word the woman testified. He told me all that I ever did. I can go on, but because of time, I'm going to go forward. Now, the beautiful thing about that stick, and this is the part I've learned in life, is that those sticks are weird because if you just break it one time, that whole stick don't start shining. You gotta do what? You gotta keep on breaking it. Oh no! I don't want to hear that part. You can break me once, break me twice, but I'm like 3 times. No, he's like, no, I'm gonna keep on breaking you until you shining through and through. See, our response to our brokenness is the key to our calling. Like, you're going to be broken. I know you, most of you I know you have been broken. I don't know how you have responded to your moments of brokenness. So you are a vessel, and God is trying to flow through you. And as long as you are, in a sense, whole, solid, like, he can't flow through you. But if you allow yourself to be broken, meaning yielding your will to his will, that's brokenness. Jesus, he prayed that in the garden, not my will, but thine will be done. I like the King James because it has more power. Thine will. So I'm asking you to respond faithfully to being broken. Just respond. It'll come. I don't want my kids to ever have to go through that, but they will. You know it. Now, there are good days, man, I'm rejoiced. I don't need to tell you how to, I don't need you how to shout. Man, we were shouting, man. I was like, I've been in church. We're like shouting. We're getting it on right. I don't need to tell you to praise. Sometimes you got to know that. But I'm telling you that in that storm, you got to have that voice, which will be God that says, stay faithful now. And if you stay faithful now, God will get glory out of your life. You got to trust him. That's the one thing. I have faith in God. But let me tell you what. I didn't trust him. Yeah, am I alone? You don't got to raise your hand. I'm just saying. I believe in you. But the Bible says the who believe and tremble? The demons believe and tremble. Like, I gotta do more. I gotta trust that you love me. Trust that you have my best interests in mind. Trust that I'm going to survive through this storm. Trust that you're going to work all things out for the good. I got to trust what you're saying. You trust him. Be the vessel God uses to bless others. I left here in Minnesota with nothing. I'm just being brutally honest. Everything that I brought up to Minnesota, U-Haul is gone. Right? And my wife and I have been up in Minnesota just trusting the Lord every single step. What was interesting, maybe about 20 years before that, or maybe 13 years, I said, I'm never going to be the guy that gets in my car with nothing and just says, God, I got to trust you. God, I used to hear pastors saying that. Like, I had nothing. I got in the car. I just said, God, you make it happen. And I just trusted him. I'm like, I'm never going to do that. She said she'd never marry a pastor, right? Stop saying that never. I'm just trying to say. But everything that I have is God's. Everything. Not one thing that I own is not here. I know that from experience. I have nothing but trust for God. Is it hard? Sometimes it's hard because I want comfort. But you know what? I'm a warrior. And you're a warrior. And if you keep wondering why you keep going through that stuff, because he's trying to get you to shine. He's trying to shine through you. God's river is flowing through the earth right now. And the issue is people are holding on to it and not letting it go because you're unwilling to be broken, to be a blessing. Remember, our brokenness is the platform for God's blessing. I have so many stories to tell, and I couldn't even possibly tell you even half of them today. But I'll tell you, my victory came when God asked me to be faithful. And everybody I knew could have said, this is what you deserve. These are your rights. You can do this, and such and such. And I'm like, yes. But God said, be faithful. Be faithful to what? To his word. Will you be faithful to his word? Man, I love God. I love Jesus. I love God's people. Don't love the devil. But I do understand we're at war. And we're not wrestling against people, but against spiritual forces. And sometimes we get angry at our spouses, and you know it's the devil. Now, don't rebuke them saying, I rebuke you, Satan, right? That's not going to help the marriage advance, right? Come on, we got marriage experts up in the house. He tell you he gonna be preaching that on Instagram here, and I'm like, yep, that was right. You can't just be rebuking your spouse every time. It's not going the way you want, right? You need help, like you go right there. I'm just trying to say, like, you can't rebuke all the time that way. Sometimes you got to be patient. Sometimes you need endurance. I wonder how many years that woman stood there waiting for God to move. I'll conclude on this. Now, this woman didn't have any biological kids. Go back. But this is the goodness of God. So it says here, I went back, it says, come and see a man who told me all things that I ever did. Could this be the Christ? And it says, then they went out of the city, the men. Remember, she went to the men. They went out of the city and came to him. And it says, and many of the Samaritans now went from men progression to the Samaritans of that city believed in him because of the word. The woman who testified said he told me all that I ever did. So when the Samaritans had come to him, they urged him to stay with him. And then they stayed there 2 days. It says, and many more believed because of his own word. And it says, then they said to the woman, now we believe now because of what you said, for we ourselves have heard him, and we know that this is indeed the Christ, the Savior of the world. The good thing is this woman had no biological kids at all, but she had hundreds of spiritual children. The woman title, the woman of Samaria, led probably the second biggest revival in the Bible. She became a mother of many. Let's pray.